Having lived through a decade of Scottish nationalist government and over a year of lockdown, we've seen our freedoms destroyed by Holyrood. Real people are the last thing on the minds of establishment politicians in Scotland, but for families, privacy and security of their homes is where the battle for Britain's future will be fought and won. First, we must start fighting for our freedoms. To overturn the hate speech bill that stops us speaking freely, nationalists who pour venom into our politics every day have banned what is described woolily as hate speech, even when spoken within the home. It will set children against parents, and worse of all, it gives ammunition to the ex-partners of vulnerable women. All they need to do is allege a woman has said something racist or transphobic and the police may investigate. It turns the sanctuary of home into a prison and does nothing to protect those from discrimination. The named person scheme to let the SNP spy on every parent through their child has not gone away, but now the corporate sector has joined in. Call center companies want save a packet on tax and rent by having their workers work from home by spying on them, even when they take toilet breaks or eat at their desk. This going back to a 18th century future, before factories, where you ate and slept where you worked. So we need a safe space within four walls to live our lives, speak freely and feel safe in our home. A castle written into law so every man and woman can feel like royalty in their home. It's young people who feel the need for change most, and that starts with housing. Every MP is part of the scam that has driven up house prices. They can finish their term in office with a nice house in London we've paid for, and they've fixed inheritance tax so we are taxed on investments, but their kids inherit a London pad tax free. This means when couples divorce, they win. When foreigners buy up London property, when companies buy property through shell companies, our MPs make a fortune of their properties selling Britain by the pound. So we need to get MPs off this gravy train. I'd prefer the Crown buy up 650 decent houses in London, one for each constituency. The MPs would live in them rent free, but their salaries would be lowered to £50,000. Rather like ministers in the Kirk, MPs would understand the rest of us better by having a middle class lifestyle, in an upper class property on a working salary, so they look everyone in the face on even terms. They could run surgeries in their houses for constituents on the move, and use it as a mini embassy for their constituency. For the past 20 years or so we have seen a huge rise in unskilled immigration and relatives migrating from the third world to join their family. All too often it has led to overcrowding, whether it be next to sweatshops in Leicester or in trailer parks on the edge of farming communities. British workers are now expected to compete with what are becoming the slums we thought we had seen the back of, all the while foreign businessmen and speculators buy up scarce property. Why not link work permits to legal rental contracts so British workers no longer have to compete with those sleeping 10 to a room in London? It's what the Tories should have done. Is it a wonder the pandemic is out of control? We should charge all foreigners the full 20% VAT on buying property, because property is a luxury if you are not British. We could backdate this to the year 2000 through a windfall tax, to get prices down to sensible levels and find some cash to pay down our COVID debts. It's tough, but it's fair and it's overdue. So too is scrapping the £7 billion spent every year on tax rebates for buy-to-let landlords, who will rent their properties anyway. It's not a perfect solution to the problems facing young Britain, but fixing housing speculation and giving families back their freedom to live and work in their homes as they please is a decent start for Scotland and for Britain. Our homes must be our castles again, not our sweatshops or prisons. Sneaky peeping politicians should mind their own business.